Alright, hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video. In today's video, we are of course going to talk about the new Revolutionary Army type leader in Black Yellow Koala. Alright, this is super exciting news. We haven't had a Revolutionary Army type leader in way too long. And it's very exciting because the effect is also very powerful. If you don't know me, my name is Matt or #EMB and I am a Belobedi main, so I am probably the most qualified guy to talk about this deck right now. Which this deck is, of course, half yellow, just like Belobedi, which means I'm gonna know half of the stuff, and then the other half is going to be the black support that we're getting in OP-12. But in today's video, we are going to talk more about like which cards you need to buy, how the matchup spread is going to look, and a bunch of interesting stuff. And I think first of all, we're going to jump into some of the more exciting cards that have been revealed so far from OP-12, and also look at the Koala leader, of course. All right, so this is the Koala leader right here. As you can see, it's a black-yellow leader, 4 life, 5,000 power, nothing new here. But it is Revolutionary Army tagged, but also Dressrosa tagged, which is huge, right? Because the Dressrosa package in black is incredibly powerful, and you now have access to things like Colosseum and stuff like that. Very interesting cards. We're going to look more at that soon, but first, let's jump into the leader effect here. So it has two main effects. One being when this leader attacks your opponent's leader, if you have 2 or more cost 8 or greater characters in play, draw 1 card. So it has a built-in draw mechanic. Of course, this mechanic is going to be a little bit hard to get because you need 2 cost 8 or greater characters, right? So it's going to be a little bit slow, but in the later game, you're going to be basically drawing a card every turn, which is incredibly powerful. We've seen this on other leaders as well, such as, the Rebecca and Boa, which is incredibly strong. And it's going to be good. And this, by the way, is not going to be as bad as you might think right off the bat, because the 2 cards that we have gotten revealed are low cost, but they have an ability that increase their own cost, right? So, for example, a cost 4 card now has an ability that says, oh, this card has +4 cost, meaning it's an 8 cost, meaning you can trigger this ability earlier than you would normally be able to. The second effect, though, is where it gets really interesting. Once per turn, when your opponent plays a character with an original cost of 8 or greater, or when your opponent plays a character through a character's effect, you may activate this ability, and your opponent adds the top card of their life to their hand. What this means is that whenever your opponent plays a character, cost 8, or when they play out a character with something like Ivankov, Jimbei, Jimbei's banned now, but Jimbei, 8 cost Kid, Moria's also banned, but Moria, we have Rebecca, right? All of those things, whenever they play something like that, they're going to have to take one of their own life, right? Which is incredibly powerful. And something that's been discussed in a bunch of channels is does a trigger count as a character effect? And we've seen a bunch of different thoughts. So we're gonna have to wait until we get the FAQ from the official One Piece card game source, right? Officially from Bandai. But it is possible, very possible, that a trigger also counts as playing something out with a character effect. So triggers that play themselves, now you also have to take one additional life, right? So it shuts down like all the yellow decks, right? And it shuts down a bunch of aggro decks like Suro, Belobedi, it's going to be super rough on those because they're going to have to take their own life really fast. And then on the black side, because you're increasing the cost of your shit, you're also countering black, right? Removing your stuff is going to be incredibly difficult, for black. So it's really funny. It's a black-yellow counter. It's really funny, but it's incredibly powerful. And I'm going to show you the other cards that have been revealed, and then we're going to jump into some of the cards that you should buy ASAP. So right here is one of those cards. Very exciting card here. Karasu, black character, 5 cost, 6,000 power. If you have a Revolutionary Army type leader, this character's cost is increased by 3, meaning it's an 8 cost, meaning it'll activate our leader ability, right? And it has a secondary effect here that when attacking, if you have a Rev Army type leader and your opponent has 5 or more cards in their hand, your opponent must discard 1 card from their hand. which is really good, right? When attacking, you can continuously do this as long as your opponent has 5 or more cards in their hand. Discarding things from your opponent's hand is really powerful. It's basically the same as drawing a card, right? But the other way around. So it is pretty powerful because when attacking, they have to discard first, and then they also have to counter, right? So they're going down a hand size pretty fast. Great card, great Karasu. One thing I would complain about this is that it's a 5 cost, which means you cannot cheat it out with something like 6 cost Koala. But it is still a great card on curve, and we know that Koala's going to play very differently from Belobetti, so it's not going to be that deep. You're going to play a little bit slower, ramp up your board, get all these 8 costs out, draw cards, stall the game, and then probably just pop off. But let's jump into the next card, which I am even more excited about. Now we're talking here. Now this is Morley, which is a 4-cost, 5k, 2k counter, giant revolutionary army tagged, which it simply has the effect that if your leader is a revolutionary army type, this character gains +4 cost. So this also becomes an 8 cost, which is great. It's literally a vanilla statted body, right? It's a 4-cost, 5k, 2k counter. That just it just has +4 cost. It's incredibly overstated, right? And it is a 4 cost, which means you can play it off of your Koala. So this just means, right, that going like second on 4 Dawn, you can smack this down, and then on 6 Dawn, you can like smack another one down. You can smack a Karasu down. You can smack Koala into Morley, and all of a sudden you already have your leader effect active, right? You're going to be drawing cards every time you swing at your opponent's leader. So it's really fast, right? +4 cost is incredibly much, dude. This is crazy. I think that's the same as Jack, which is crazy because Jack is a 7 cost. So incredibly powerful card here, and I can't wait to see more of the revealed cards. But before that, let's jump into some cards that we should actually be considered buying before this deck releases. Alright, so here I have compiled a list of cards that could be interesting that you should definitely pick up, or, if you don't have them, some of these are very cheap. You just pick up a playset if you can. We're going to just go from the top left here and go down to the bottom right here. So starting with 5 cost Sabo, this is just an automatic pickup right now, okay? This card just fits perfectly into the deck because it's a 5 cost, 6k blocker, which is super powerful. And on play, your characters can't be KO'd by card effects, and you draw 2, trash 2. This card is just insanely overstated, and the reason it fits so perfectly into this deck is because it's both Dressrosa and Rev Army tagged, right? So whichever engine you decide to run, whether you decide to run the Dressrosa package or the Rev Army package, this is going to be necessary in both of them. We all know how strong this card is. It's been argued that it should be banned for a long time, and you need to pick up a playset of these ASAP. Moving on to Mancherry here. Now, these are cards, both, I'll do this one and Rebecca in the same little thing here because they do basically the same thing, right? Mancherry picks up a 3 or 5 cost from your trash to your hand, and Rebecca picks up a 3 to 7 to your hand and then plays a 3 cost or less. These are both very relied on what support we get, right? If we find support, like let's say we get a really good 3 to 5 cost black character, right? Like something that's so much of a staple that it's like we don't mind playing it 8 times in a game. You should definitely pick up 4 copies of Mancherry, right? And the same goes for Rebecca, right? If we day drop a 3 cost black Rev Army character that is really, really powerful, like something along the lines of EVO1 Brook, maybe like just something that is so powerful that when you play it off of this, it's going to change the game. If they do not drop that, I do not know if Rebecca will be played. But there is still a big chance that you're just going to be running like Rebecca Brook anyways, right? Because it's just such a powerful combo. So definitely, I'd say pick up Rebecca. It should be fairly down in price at the moment after the Ice Age ban and stuff. I don't know if it's gone back up because Lucci sees a lot of play. But it is definitely a great card, and you should probably have a playset of this either way because this is just a great card. And then we have 8 cost Sabo here. 8 cost Sabo is one of those cards that, for some reason, is not that widely played. I think it's a little bit awkward the way it works, right? But when people drop this shit on me, I'm like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? And this, for the same reason as Sabo here, fits perfectly into the deck, right? Because it's a revolutionary army type. but also it is an 8 cost, right? Which triggers our leader effect. Um, so when you just drop this down, you're already triggering like your leader effect, right? You don't need the cost increases and stuff as long as you have this on the board. And KOing a 5 cost and 3 cost is incredibly powerful, all right? Don't get me wrong. This is a powerful effect. And I definitely think you should pick up, maybe not a playset, but definitely 3 of these, at the minimum 3 of these. I'm currently chasing some myself. I have the ones in my binder. I have the regular one and the alt art, but I definitely need at least one more to go in this deck for sure. I think this card is incredibly powerful and it works great in Koala. I have Zoro here as well. Zoro is one of those that are going to be very dependent on what build you want to run, right? If you're running the Rev Army package, this shouldn't go in your deck because at this point you're playing a 4-cost 6k and you have to rest your leader, and you know it's just a little bit too slow, right? However, if you are running the Dressrosa package, you now have the option to play the stage, right? Which means you have something else to rest with this Zoro, which, you know, is very powerful. However, I don't know if Dressrosa is going to be the way. I'm going to be honest. I think Rev Army is going to be the way because if you want to play Dressrosa, you have better leaders that you can play, right? Kuros is not one of them, but you can play Rebecca, you can play Usopp, right? Because the blue Dressrosa package is just infinitely better than the yellow Dressrosa package, right? We literally like have 2 yellow cards for Dressrosa or something. But if you want to end up playing the Dressrosa package, or maybe you do like a 50-50 split or something, Zoro should definitely go in the deck. Zoro is a goated card. But at the end of the day, it's just a rare, so you can pick this up fairly cheap, you know, might as well pick it up. Then we have Lucy here. Lucy is a card that's been, you know, argued if it's good or bad for a long time in the Belobeti community. And I think it fits a lot better in Koala than it does in something like Belobeti. The way it works, right, is that you take the top, you put the top card of your life into your hand, top or bottom, and then rest a 4 cost or less. And then if your life total is 1 or less, you heal 1 from the top of your life. So as long as you have 2 or less life when you attack with this, it's basically a rest a 4 cost or less and draw a card, right? Which is powerful. It's really powerful. But it's always been a little bit too slow in Belobeti, right? If on 6 Dawn, you don't want to just smack this down. You'd rather smack down a 5-cost Ivankov or a 6-cost Koala. But in something like Koala, this could be just about fast enough to actually get a lot of value, especially when you're like, you know, if you're drawing another card and you're drawing a card of leader ability, suddenly you're drawing a lot of cards and you're going to realize that you're not actually running out of resources that fast. And at the same time, you're going to be discarding cards from your opponent's hand with things like Karasu and stuff. So it's just a value kind of play, right? So I think this you should definitely pick up. It's, again, just a rare. Shouldn't be that hard to pick up. You probably have them lying around at home. So just pick these up just to be safe. And then I'm going to go over the OP-9 cards here. The OP-9 yellow cards are pretty goddamn strong. We're going to start with Karasu here. Karasu is just a great card. Because it's a 3-cost 4k blocker, so it's a fairly statted card, right? Then it has the trigger that it comes out of life as long as you and your opponent has 5 or less life. Which in Belobeti, I hate this so much because you want a trigger off your early life. But in something like Koala, it could be incredibly clutch to just have one of these at the bottom of the life, right? It's basically a better version of you're the one who should disappear, right? Arguably. But it's an incredibly powerful card that can, you know, save games, which is just great. And it can be cheated off things like Koala as well. And just a great on-curve card to play as well. And then we're going into Koala here. Koala, I definitely think Koala is going to be run. Koala is just a great card. And I think it depends a lot of how the playstyle ends up being. Like if we're ending up being a little bit more defensive, like having to go on the defense, then Koala's not going to be very strong, right? Because you have to take your own life. But that is not something that should be super relevant. In fact, a lot of our cards actually really want us to go down in life, like Lucy here, like this Sabo, you know, so it's going to be very relevant to want to go down in life in specific situations, right? But it's definitely a card you should be looking out for. It's a great card. Just buy it. It's just a super rare. Just get 4 of it. You're so golden. Then we're going to talk about 7-cost Sabo here. 7-cost Sabo is a great card as well, especially when comboed with something like Karasu here. If you have, I think it's, yeah, if you have 2 or less life when you use it, you don't get to heal. But if you have, no, wait, it's the opposite, sorry. I'm going to read this card. Place up to 1 Revolutionary Army type character from your hand on top of your life face up. Then, if you have 2 or more life, put the top or bottom card of your life into your hand. What this means is that you can heal 1, and then you have to take 1 life back, right? Unless, of course, you're sitting at 0 life. If you're sitting at 0 life, then when you put a card, you're sitting at 1 life, which means the second part of this effect won't trigger. So being able to heal at 1 and being able to heal something like a Karasu, right, is incredibly powerful because they bring you down to 0. You're like, oh shit, now I'm cooked. Psych, I have this. It's going to stall me out 2 turns while establishing a body and a blocker for me, you know? Which is just great. And then we have Kuma here. This is a searchable 2K in Koala, so which also has a trigger, which might definitely be relevant. Similar to the Frankie, Egghead Frankie, right? It comes out of your low life and it can change the games for sure. So this is definitely a good card, and it's searchable at the end of the day, assuming that we get a searcher in Rev Army, in Black Rev Army. If we do end up getting it in yellow, then Bello Betty is best deck game format. Don't play Koala, don't worry about it. But we're not. We're most likely gonna get a searcher in black, and if not, then this card is not gonna be that relevant. Then just play better 2Ks, right? They're better 2Ks to play. But if we do have a searcher, this is searchable. Get a playset. Bello Betty here as well. This is something that also is played in Bello Betty in a lot of Japanese lists, but I think it's going to be incredibly more powerful in Koala. Again, if you have 2 or less life, draw 1 card. This has not been relevant in Bello Betty because it's a little bit too slow, right? You're not really going to be at 2 life that much. But in something like Koala, you can take those early hits, you can go down to 2, you can then start playing this Bello Betty, right? And all of a sudden, you're drawing a card from the Bello Betty, you're drawing a card from Leader Effect, you're drawing a card from Lucy, you're drawing so many cards that it's like, wow, this is actually crazy. We're drawing a bunch of cards. And it also has the trigger that it can come out of life, which is just great, right? Just an added bonus on top of everything. So I think this could definitely fit into Koala very good. Then we have Inazuma here. Inazuma is just a great card as well. It's something of a finisher, right? As the way you can rest things when attacking, you can deal with chump blockers pretty easily. And again, it does have that trigger, and it can be cheated out of Koala as well. And this is where things get interesting, right? This is where it's like, okay, now we are theory crafting. This law is Dressrosa tagged. So you can search this if you're running a Dressrosa package, in which case something like this Sorrow is a card that can be healed. Like it's very interesting, the interactions here, I think. I mean, this is just a great card, right? And you might literally run it as long if you're running even the slightest Supernova package. Like there's a couple of Dressrosa Supernovas, right? You can just heal those. And I think we have the like 4-cost law should also be Dressrosa tagged. It's not. Okay, never mind. But there are good cards, right? You have this Dressrosa here from EBO2, this law here that you can definitely play. This is insanely good card. Like there are Supernova tagged Dressrosa cards, right? There's some kind of engine you could probably run there, so that you might want to pick up at least a couple of copies of this card, just in case. You never know, right? I have no clue if this is going to be run, but it might be. And then we're going to look at this promo Sabo here. This is, again, mostly a searchable 2K, but the difference between this one and the Kuma is that this is searchable with both Rev Army and Dressrosa, right? So whatever package you decide to run, it's going to be searchable. However, this effect is not going to be that relevant. It could definitely come up, but the fact that it can't be played off Koala and it can't be, you know, it takes a life, right? Which is going to be less relevant in this than Bello Betty. But it is a searchable 2K. Of course, this is going to be also super expensive. Probably it comes down now in end of April. So we'll find out just how expensive it's going to be. It's going to be in the Premium Collection 3, I think. But I'd suggest picking up 4 copies of this anyways. If not in Koala, then for Bello Betty, right? Might as well. And then we're going to talk about Don't Underestimate a Miracle. This is just a card that is just a 2K counter with a trigger. But if we could trigger out things, right? You could trigger out so many things. This is just such a good trigger. Assuming that we get more like hand cycling than just this Sabo, then you can do like the way I've been running Bilibili recently is you just play like a bunch of triggers, like Morally, you play Hormone and stuff, and then you just cycle your hand anyways with things like Stage and Leader effect. If Koala gets similar things like that, then you could just run good cards with triggers like this that don't necessarily do anything else but trigger, right? Same thing in like Blackbeard. People just run cards that just trigger, right, without having any secondary effect, because you're able to cycle your hand that much. So if Koala gets ways to cycle their hand properly, pick up a playset of this. It's going to be great. And then Colosseum, of course, one of the like best Dressrosa locked cards in the game. If you end up playing a Dressrosa package, you have to play this. This is like automatic include in every Dressrosa package. It could also be played either way, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a Rev Army Dressrosa. This is a Rev Army Dressrosa. This is a Rev Army Dressrosa. Like we have a good amount of like Dressrosa Rev Army support, right? So you could play this in a Rev Army build. Maybe not that many of it, but it could be like an interesting tech to just drop on people, and then boom, all of a sudden your Sabo gets Rush, right? That shit's crazy. Dressrosa gets Rush. And then you can trigger this when attacking off the bat, right? So it's going to be very interesting. I definitely think this card becomes more relevant in Koala depending on what support we get, and if like we actually might get some Dressrosa support in this set too, right? So very interesting stuff. And pick up, basically just pick up all these, okay? Just might as well. They're not that expensive. It's this law that's expensive. You don't necessarily have to pick this up, but I think it could be interesting. But definitely pick up this, pick up this, pick up this, pick up Rebecca as well, might as well. And everything else is just commons, uncommons, rares, etc. So pick up all of those. All right, that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed and, you know, learned a little few things about this new leader. I myself am very excited for a new Rev Army leader, and I've been looking for a second like deck to play. Like Beto Betty, I love her so much, but you need more than one deck, right? Especially when Bilibili is such a meta-reliant deck. Koala fits in there perfectly, also being a meta-reliant deck, but in such a different way than Bilibili, and it's just a breath of fresh air. And so it's going to be super interesting. I'm super excited. Let me know in the comments if you're excited as well, or if you have any other cards that I might have missed, you know, let me know in the comments. It's going to be sick. But also, don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, leave something in the comments if you have any ideas for videos you want to see. Just let me know in the comments. It's fine. And then, without further ado, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.